Every Christian has the Holy Spirit living within them. Paul says, if anyone does not have the Spirit of Christ, they do not belong to Christ. But not every Christian is filled with the Holy Spirit. St. Paul writes to people who are already Christians in Ephesus, and he says, be filled with the Holy Spirit. The original Greek he uses there is in the present continuous tense. It means go on being filled over and over and over again. So it's possible to be a Christian and not be filled with the Holy Spirit. I sometimes use this analogy. We have an old gas boiler with a pilot light. Pilot light's always on, but when the heat comes on, the boiler goes. And some Christians are kind of like pilot light Christians, and other Christians are kind of Christians. And you can tell the difference when you meet one. So, what's it like to experience the Holy Spirit?
Whatever the Holy Spirit touches, the Holy Spirit changes. So it is normal that experiencing the Holy Spirit will bring some changes, even in our feelings, in our emotions, in our way of expressing ourselves. St. Paul says in the letter to the Ephesians, don't be drunk with alcohol, with wine, but be filled with the Holy Spirit. So somehow he says that the effect of the coming of the Holy Spirit are like being intoxicated. But this is a very special kind of intoxication which makes people stable, not trembling.
So, would you like to be filled with the Holy Spirit? In my experience, there are 3 barriers to people receiving. The first is doubt. Doubt goes like this: I don't think that if I asked, I would receive. Jesus says this in Luke 11, verse 9. So I say to you, ask, and it will be given to you. And you can see the disciples think, not sure. So he goes on, seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. And they're going, yeah, maybe my friend, maybe my neighbor, maybe the person sitting next to me, but not me. So Jesus goes on, for everyone who asks receives, everyone who seeks finds, and to everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. You can see the disciples saying, okay, but then the next barrier is fear. Okay, I believe I would receive, but I'm not sure I want it. What would happen? Would something terrible happen to me? If I ask, will God give you something terrible? Jesus says this, which of you fathers, if your son asks for a fish, will give him a snake instead? Or if he asks for an egg, will give him a scorpion? If you then, though you're evil, he says basically you're a pretty evil bunch, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give the Holy Spirit to those who ask him? He says if you ask for the Holy Spirit, he's not going to give you something terrible. He's going to give you something amazing and wonderful, the Holy Spirit. Third barrier to receiving is inadequacy. It goes like this, well, I'm not worthy. You don't know what my life is like. That's true, I don't know, but God does. And he loves you. He goes, I'm not mature enough. I haven't been a Christian long enough. I can imagine that God would give it to a really good person or a really mature Christian, but not to me. But Jesus doesn't say, how much more will your Father in heaven give the Holy Spirit to a really mature Christian or someone who's led a really good life? He says, how much more will your Father in heaven give the Holy Spirit to those who ask him?